Hey everyone, and welcome to Let Me Ask You This. I'm your host, Scott J. Carroll. Joining me this week is our panel. Over
I'm a
here,
panelist.
You're a panelist.
you are a panelist, and we're all very proud.
Are you proud of me, Mom?
She can't hear you because this is happening in the past. It's okay. So, on my right, joining me this week is Claire and Alan. On my left, we have Angel and Tom. And we got together again to have a little bit of fun, ask some questions, and just kind of see where the night takes us.
Oh dear.
No,
Yeah.
this does not bode well.
It never does.
So, round
There's
one.
a new moon. This could end badly.
Round one this week, I figured I would ask you guys some questions about some notable people throughout history. And that's really the only clue.
So
that
this one?
I'm gonna. I said notable, not notorious.
Splitting hairs here, but okay.
He doesn't have many.
Points out of the gate. for
Somebody
Angel.
fed her meat today. Yeah.
He's got plenty, just not up here.
She's had coffee.
Somebody fed her coffee and sugar.
Sugar and spite.
Sugar and spite and everything, right? No. All right, we're getting off track.
Cards for some
I do
reason?
have
Okay,
cards.
there we go.
Let's get this thing going. So my first question of the night, we're talking about notable people. Do not. First he tries to steal the Tome of Knowledge.
He tried.
Then they try to read the cards. You have defiled the tome! I will revoke any point, past, present, and future, if you do not return the tome.
You need to put a child lock on that thing or something.
I do.
I'm hearing the
I
word
do.
pirate any minute. So.
Pirate.
Man, I'm going to have to give this to the judge to hang on to. The Tome of Knowledge is a sacred text.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway. So tell me, I was about to say tell me my friends, but tell me my people.
We've done nothing to him.
Yet.
You're
That's so
encouraging.
true. That is so true.
So, my first
Lot of
question
bugs.
of the night, to bring this back, what was unique about Today Show host J. Fred Muggs?
His last name was Muggs.
If you were really quiet, you sneak up on him, right?
Wow.
I know, I know.
You tried.
Digging,
You
digging,
tried.
yeah.
You tried. So, Today Show host J. Fred Muggs, we have to go back to the early 1950s.
Yes,
Alan?
yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I'll leave that in
I
y'all's
was about to say,
purview.
and he's dead now. How about that one? Yeah.
Did you get mugged?
Is he dead now?
He's no longer today.
We're back in the 50s. You set the Wayback Machine.
I did. So, we're back in the 50s. J. Fred Muggs was a co-host of the Today Show from 1953 to 1957. He co-hosted at that time with a man named David Garroway. I didn't remember. I had to check the cards. But he co-hosted with a man named David Garroway. But
Okay.
there was something that was unique about him. Something that set him apart from every other host on TV at the time.
He was a dog.
Not a dog.
A goat.
Not a goat.
Cat.
Not a cat.
A
Horse.
duck.
We can't just sit here and list off.
Sure we can.
No, he was the coffee mug.
So,
It was Muggs.
Is it bugging you?
A bunny rabbit.
not a bunny
No,
rabbit.
No, he was not living, if I recall.
No, he was. He
Was
was
a
a living thing.
creature.
So J. Fred Muggs was a living creature. He was not
Was
a
it?
human person, but he was the next closest adjunct to a human person.
An
So he's like a
orangutan.
chimpanzee.
He was a chimp.
Yeah, he was the monkey. Yeah.
J. Fred Muggs was a chimp,
Yes.
and he co-hosted Today Show for 4 years. And the gimmick is thought to have brought the network over $100 million in views and advertisement.
I feel like more chimpanzees should be talk show hosts these
Well,
days.
then right after
Believe it
him,
or
you had
not.
a whole slew of Lancelot Link and other
Yeah.
simian simian-based
Yeah.
entertainment.
Did you see
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes? We don't need this.
He was the first
More
non-human
horse hosts.
co-host of a show, and it's actually a really interesting story. He was brought to the States and made an appearance somewhere, and a producer for the network said, "Yeah, I'll take him."
You got an idea.
And he was hired. And he co-hosted the show. He actually became so popular that he was eclipsing every other host of the show, and specifically David Garroway. There are reports that allegedly Garroway was jealous of the success and attention that Fred was getting, that he put Benzedrine in his orange juice to make him act up during takes. Because Muggs learned that when the red light was on, if he misbehaved, nobody would do anything to him because they were live.
Right.
And they couldn't just go out. Eventually, after, in 1957, Muggs did leave the show. The reason the producers gave was so that he could expand his horizons. But during that time, Muggs appeared on a bunch of other shows. Not everything went well. He did bite a number of guests.
Yes,
you know.
yes. There's Squing.
Typical talk show host behavior.
Squing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
later he would have had a contract with
The,
Fox
the,
News.
the
but, you know.
artist, Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
So when Muggs left the show, he was when Muggs eventually stopped doing entertainment, he was 23 years old. As of the last report earlier this year, he's still alive,
Hot diggity.
No, that's
which is
fair play.
genuinely surprising, but good for him.
Has a higher net worth and a better retirement than I'll ever have.
You know, it just should
more
proves that
fun.
bananas are good for you.
More fun.
That can be arranged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people.
You do.
So moving on from animals, let's
And,
get.
and I am going to call shenanigans because you said notable persons.
I said, well, you know,
said nothing of notable simians.
well, depending on certain politicians, they would declare they'd say corporations are people. If a corporation's a person,
They have perpetual existence.
then we can go with.
Mr. Muggs does not have perpetual existence.
We don't have perpetual existence.
You know, what,
Actually,
let's.
you don't. I do. It's
Well,
okay.
you're not
And he was
fair.
probably smarter than some of the folks we have in Congress now.
Oh, but
At any rate, let's go back. Let's go from animals back to people. Let's say that
it's kind of up to you. You have the cards.
I know. Say that you were in New York. Say that you were a policeman in New York in the late 70s through the 80s, and you got the call that you were being put on Andre the Giant duty.
Oh, Jesus.
What were you doing if you were on Andre the Giant duty?
Making sure he
Bodyguard?
didn't hurt anybody.
No, you were trying to make sure nobody
Bodyguard?
hurt him, and probably having to carry a lot of beer.
Oh, yeah. He hurt so bad he had to drink the beer.
Yeah, he was a big guy.
Because there was...
So, not a bodyguard.
No.
He didn't need a bodyguard.
There was no bodyguarding Andre the Giant.
It was
Andre,
just trying
There's
to keep
too
the
much body too.
It was trying to keep the chaos down. It's
Essentially, you guys are right. Essentially,
Yeah.
if you were on Andre the Giant duty, your job was to make sure that he didn't fall down on any people or any cars when he was drunk.
yes, because there was a lot of Andre.
and there was one story. Idiots started throwing beer cans at him, and it kind of upset him a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You know, why would you pick a fight with Andre the Giant?
because you're stupid.
Having shook hands with him one time, as a grown human being, if you ever want to feel like a very small child shaking the finger of a grown-up, his hand only went to here.
He
He
was
just went, hello. And you just went, he just shook my whole arm.
And Andre the Giant, he's one of those characters that it's a tragic story because he was an incredibly kind person,
Yes.
a really good person, and
He
he
spent a lot of time here in Memphis.
did he.
Yes, he did. He was a huge part of the wrestling world. And Memphis was a wrestling mecca during his heyday.
Yeah.
Wrestling heyday.
Yeah, buddy.
Andre, it's
So the chances you could bump into Andre the Giant in Memphis were pretty good.
let's be honest. If you're not gonna bump into him and go, "Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there."
I will say this. When the elevator doors opened at a certain hotel in this town, and it was either him or the Iron Sheik, you realized there was no room for anyone else because all you saw was person from one side of the door to the other. And with Andre, you lost the top of it. All you saw was a torso. Really big torso.
Andre the
I
Giant.
will leave that at an undisclosed location.
Did he flip the car in Memphis?
No.
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 Because there was the story where somebody was drunk and picked a fight, so he went outside and just flipped the guy's car.
Yeah, that was the ones that were throwing the beer cans at him, started
Yeah,
fighting.
that
He's
was-
like, you know.
That'll show.
No, that was people in the north do things like
Yeah.
that. We have better sense down
Uh-huh.
here.
Do we really?
Oh, someone's,
took-
But we
Cows.
used to, anyhow.
Well, not in Memphis.
someone's trying to pick a regional fight,
Sure.
and that's
Look, Yankee.
we're
One of our
gonna
judges is disapproving.
we're gonna let that slide while we head on to our next question.
As the judge enjoys a good scratch. There you go. Good.
So, my next question here is: on January 1st, 1892, 15-year-old Annie Moore became
didn't
the
know her.
first person to do what?
Make ham rolls. Whatever that thing is. Pig
Pork
roll
roll.
thing you got in the freezer.
Pork roll.
Pork roll.
Pork, okay. Yes.
Pork roll.
Yeah.
We will make it. We will talk about pork roll another time. Pork roll is a delicious food product created in the great state of New Jersey, which we will get to later.
Thus
Yeah.
is the biggest
There's going to be a
contradiction
whole
of terms
special episode
I have
on New
ever
Jersey.
heard. I have ever heard.
But
We believe you.
no, she did not make pork roll.
Did she wear a swimsuit, attempt to vote, join the army, smoke a cigarette in public?
Keep
Drop a
listing things
ball.
women couldn't do till the
Yeah,
70s.
let's
Go
think-
ahead.
I can just start. Yeah, da 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 da
Show
da.
her ankles.
No, so this was something that anybody could do. So this was not restricted by sex, age, race, or
Went over
gender.
Niagara Falls in a barrel.
No,
Okay,
Run a
no,
marathon.
that was something that women couldn't do.
but they did.
No.
Because they knew better.
Oh, but they did.
Oh, yeah.
No, we didn't. We're not
Shoot
that
somebody.
No, so we're in 1892. We're January 1st. We're brand new year.
Drove a car.
No,
At 3 miles an hour.
1892. It's like,
brand new year. People are trying to start a whole new life. Sometimes people decide to start a whole new life by it's okay. Nobody heard that.
I have it on airplane mode, man. Come on.
Are we
People-
in the
yeah,
air?
but which airline?
Oh, that's the problem.
Apparently, it was a United one.
People are trying to start whole new lives. They're leaving from one place to go to another.
Okay. She and 12 million other people migrated. Okay.
Okay, keep going with that.
She was on her way to
through,
Australia.
Wandered through Ellis Island.
She was the first person to get processed in Ellis Island.
There we go.
There you
we
go.
go.
Yep. So
I
Annie
like-
Moore,
I just needed. It was kind of like 1892 was a busy year, man.
Yeah.
yeah, apparently.
You were right between the two World's Fairs, which produced an amazing amount of products. So, there was a lot going on. Just a lot could have been there.
I really wish we could do a World's Fair again, but I know it's impossible. But Annie Moore, she was the first person to be processed through Ellis Island. She left from Cork, Ireland, and ended up in Ellis Island. Now, after she was processed, she was awarded a $10 American gold piece, which is a crazy amount of money at the time.
I took it now. So
I know.
Yeah.
Afterwards, she kind of became famous just for being the first person to do it. Prior to that, there was nothing particularly exceptional about her, but that became her thing.
She was the equivalent of that guy who goes first on any internet comment board. But this time it actually came with a reward.
Well, it became more than that because there was an artist named Jay Reinhardt, and Reinhardt sculpted 2 statues of Annie Moore. One stands still today at the port at Queenstown, where she departed, and one stands at Ellis Island.
Sweet.
So you could actually still follow the same path of Annie Moore if you wanted to, if you're a history buff and felt like doing something like that. Another fun fact about Ellis Island is several years ago, New York and New Jersey got into a little bit of a tiffle because they found an old map that had different boundary lines on it. And they discovered that on that old map, Ellis Island actually belonged to New Jersey. So New York went and said, look, people didn't emigrate to go to New Jersey. They emigrated to come to New York. And we got pork roll. So
Let them fight.
New Jersey, New York, no, they actually got together and they said, okay, here's the compromise. New Jersey, you can own the island. New York, you own the Statue of Liberty. So currently, when you're standing on Ellis Island, you are standing in 2 states at once.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, but yours is mostly confusion.
Yeah.
I was going to say denial.
Have you seen my
Yeah,
job?
denial is my favorite.
My
Ah.
kids?
So Annie Moore was a person who did, a good thing in history. So I wanted to round out this first round with a person who did some maybe not so great things. So my question,
Alan?
Let's say, how long is it going to take this one?
my question is, which one single scientist/inventor is responsible for causing the most damage to people and the environment?
Probably Nobel.
No.
Oppenheimer.
Come on,
No.
he invented dynamite. He blew up everybody.
He did, but
All right, I got to think higher than blew up everybody. Wow.
you do because while I did give Oppenheimer and Nobel, while I did give them consideration in this, this is a relatively modern scientist whose inventions did nothing but terrible things and will continue to do terrible things and have become so ingrained in the various different processes of the day that to remove them is a massive pain and have actually had to go to the Supreme Court in one instance.
Mark Zuckerberg. No.
Bill Gates.
No, so we are going a little bit back
Well,
in
we're
time.
just losing sponsors as fast. Yeah, let's just shoot that down.
So we have to go a little bit
He
back in
started
time.
this.
Yeah.
We are going back to around the 1920s to the 1950s.
Oh, so it's not Al Gore for inventing the internet. Darn.
He invented a series of tubes.
Of course.
So we actually are talking
Are we
about
discussing something medical or something mechanical?
mechanical was the main crux of the big invention.
Okay, so I can leave all the vaccines and all that stuff out of the
Yes,
way.
yes, you
Wasn't the
can.
guy
Okay,
who made
so-
the car?
Not the guy who made
Nope.
the car. So the inventor in question was a chemist, and he
Yeah.
was working for a number of different industries. I believe DuPont was one of them. He was working out of Dayton, Ohio.
So tires.
Poor thing.
Not tires.
Paint?
It is something related to cars, though, for one of them. And it wasn't paint. So when cars were going around, there was a kind of problem that wasn't necessarily a bad
The
problem.
emissions,
You're on the right track. You're absolutely on the right track. When you had a lot of problems with cars, you had a problem with engine knocking.
Yeah. So they put lead in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Who put the lead in?
Same guy let the dogs out.
So we're dealing with a scientist who his name is Thomas Midgley. Thomas Midgley put
Nice guy, lovely family.
So Thomas Midgley, he was responsible for putting tetraethyl lead in gasoline because
Is
it
that
stopped.
why they specify unleaded gasoline now?
Yes. So at that time there was no lead in gas. Midgley put tetraethyl lead in gasoline because it stopped the knocking. The problem was it just put lead out in the
Yeah.
emissions. It just put lead out everywhere. And when they initially announced this, Midgley held a press conference where he said, "No, it's perfectly fine and safe," and he poured leaded gasoline over his hands. The next day, he went to the hospital for some relaxation.
Yeah.
that he did.
But the leaded gasoline caused so many problems and so many emissions that we again find ourselves in the great state of New Jersey. In the 1970s, people from New Jersey actually ended up going to the Supreme Court to do something because they noticed that not only were test scores for children and other people progressively lower and lower, anger and frustration were higher and higher per year, and it was and they were finding lead in people's blood and in people's bodies, and it was all tied back to gasoline. That was one of Midgley's inventions.
Oh no.
Well, and then the paint, the lead paint.
I don't think that was Midgley.
No, that was way before him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you are right.
Still
Lead in
an
the paint.
issue.
It
Well,
is still an
leaded
issue.
crystal dates back a long
yeah.
time
Yeah.
ago. And it made the wine taste better.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
I'm
we go.
sure.
So Midgley did have a couple other notable inventions to his name.
Tires?
One of them was
Michelin tires?
no. One of them was concentrated fluorocarbons, otherwise known as CFCs.
Nice.
Those things,
Spray cans work.
the things in aerosol that destroy the ozone. And Midgley also pioneered the use of Freon.
Oh, he was on a roll.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if we invent a time machine and we have to go back and take somebody out, we put Midgley on the list?
Oh, Midgley's on the list. Well, here's the thing. We don't really have to worry much.
He didn't make it that far.
Yep.
Well, about that, in his life, Midgley was in a skiing accident and he broke both of his legs. So he designed and built a bed
Made of
that
lead.
would. He designed and built a bed that would elevate his legs for the healing process. It was this convoluted series of ropes and pulleys. He ended up strangling himself in his sleep. So Midgley's inventions killed other people and himself.
There you go.
See, why is this not a biographical movie that's being made? I'd watch this shenanigan horror thing.
There is a wonderful
Oh,
show.
wow.
I'll show it later. There's a wonderful show that describes it, but in more detail.
All I
Yeah,
gotta say is just wow.
yeah. So on that bright note, that brings
On
us
that
to the
little
end of round
bit
one.
of happiness.
And that takes us into round two. Round two, of course, is our bluff round. Before the show, I gave everybody here a card which has a question on it and the correct answer. I then asked them to write 2 additional answers, and they're going to take turns trying to bluff the other team. So, I think tonight we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to start over here on my left. Angel, why don't you read your question, please?
What country created the Caesar salad? Italy, Mexico, Greece.
30 seconds.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Caesar salad. I do enjoy
I'm
getting the
inclined to
Caesar
say
salad.
Mexico, but you're the food dude. So.
I'm inclined to agree with you for a number of reasons. Well, it couldn't have been Italy because Caesar didn't live in Italy; he lived in Rome. So
I believe it is time.
What is your answer?
Mexico.
You are correct.
Woo!
Yep, you guys are correct. It was an Italian immigrant
yes,
who was living in
spoiled
Mexico
milk thing going on. Yep.
who invented the Caesar salad. All right, Claire, why don't you read your question?
Diddle-doo. What year was Earth Day first celebrated? 1968, 1970, or 1991?
30 seconds.
What are you looking at me for?
Weren't you there?
For all of them?
Doesn't mean I was coherent at the time. The 2 of them, I was in grade school.
What were the answers again?
1968, 1970, and 1991.
I'm gonna go with 68.
Sounds good.
Okay, 68.
Incorrect. 1970.
It had to be one of the 2 of them.
Close but no cigar.
Well, all the hippies had things going on.
Because
good
it's Earth
then.
Day.
Well, you know,
You
they
expect
started
hippies to be on
planning it
time.
in '68.
Depends on what they're on.
Yeah. They're not on time.
They're very rarely on time, yeah.
Not parsley or basil or anything. Tom,
What?
please read your
That was
question.
sage.
Oh.
Could be interesting.
Well, something
Depends on
was-
the sage.
Something was green and burning. I don't think it was sage.
Oh, no, depends on the sage. If one, anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
So back in Mexico, Tom.
Once upon a time in Mexico.
Yeah.
Well, how about in the state of Georgia?
Oh.
It is illegal to eat what food with a fork? We have watermelon, fried okra, and fried chicken.
It's got to be fried chicken.
I
gotta
wouldn't
be fried
put it
chicken.
past them. Once again, you're the food dude, so I'm inclined to defer to you here.
This is those weird laws that are still on the books after, like you can't shoot a whale from a moving vehicle in Tennessee.
Got
I'm
about 10
oscillating between
seconds.
two
Oh, I
reasons
said
why.
chicken. I
You
said
say chicken, so I'll go
I
with
said
you.
fried chicken.
It's chicken.
It is, in fact, fried
It's
chicken.
Well, we do have whales come up and down the Mississippi occasionally.
I understand, and you are not allowed to try to shoot them.
Let's be lawbreakers. Go to
From.
Chick-fil-A with a fork.
We're not
Anyway.
Georgia.
Alan, please read
You
your
go to
question.
Georgia and do it.
So,
Be scofflaws.
how long was the first Thanksgiving? Was it 30 days, 3 days, or 1 day?
3 days.
Okay.
Wow, stare back. Yeah, you can have it. I'll just do this. Took them that long to catch that on turkey.
Yeah, right.
That was celebration of the first Thanksgiving was 3 days, but yeah, that was. You were just like, it's 3 days.
So why do I only get 1 day off?
Corporate.
Ooh,
good question.
that's a great question.
Capitalism.
So America, if you want more than a day off for Thanksgiving, Give us
Petition your
So
senator.
credit.
since I'm part
Yeah.
Native American and part, can I have like 6 days off?
I'm good with
You get the
that.
party and the reparations.
3 days of party, 3 days of regret.
Okay.
I mean, that's most parties. Let's be real.
Yeah, yeah, come on.
Well, all right, you get the Cherokee and the Choctaw at that table over there.
What?
So that
I
brings
didn't
us
say a
to.
word.
Hey, look, at least nobody's wanting to sue anybody.
Oh,
Yet.
wow. No, I got it.
You just won a casino.
Yeah, buddy.
Anyway, that's the end of our bluff round. Good job, everybody.
Only if I get my part.
So we're gonna move on from all this.
Man, we went to hardcore steely eyes over here.
Yeah.
We kicked their butt at about 8 or 9 questions in a row, and they get all testy because she knows she's not winning this round. So,
So we're moving on to our third round. Round 3, as tradition, the questions do get a little bit harder. And
as opposed to that niggly wiggly thing you had
Yeah,
all over
really.
the planet.
I wanted to tell that story because, man, it's fun. So the category for our third and final round tonight is fun and games.
Which
So,
one are you?
And
Okay, yeah.
anyway. So my first question tonight for fun and games is, what seemingly innocuous thing caused national hysteria in the 1920s and 30s?
Orson
Everything.
Welles.
I was about to say that
That's
doesn't
what I was
narrow
gonna
it
say.
down.
Okay,
Said everything.
what seemingly innocuous game caused national hysteria in the 1920s and 30s?
Twister?
I think Twister was
Yeah, it wasn't around there.
50s.
Yeah.
Because Twister was that weird kind of swingers game that then became for kids.
I remember that.
Yeah, Twister didn't come out until after the pill had been invented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I do like the Orson Welles answer, War of the Worlds, that hysteria.
Yes, that's what
No,
I was
but-
going
When
with.
did
Not
they
it.
start making When did they start making Ouija boards?
Ouija boards, you actually are going back to...
no, you predate all
Yeah.
the game companies.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Monopoly?
Not Monopoly. Monopoly did come out in 35, but we're a little bit before that. This game originally came out in England just before the turn of the century. And it caught on in America in the 1920s and
Checkers?
30s.
Chess?
Not checkers, chess.
Was this a card game?
No, it was a
Well, I didn't
daily
think it
game.
was. Oh, the crossword puzzle thing?
Crossword puzzles.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
So when the crossword puzzle thing started, that started at the...
So now I have to know what the hysteria
The-
was
the-
like.
Oh, they had like different newspapers had different contests as who could solve them fastest. Who could do, oh yeah,
So
there was quite the to do.
they came out, people caught on to them, and they started just catching on, a big craze. There were a lot of people who didn't like the crosswords. There were a lot of newspapers that would put out articles saying crossword puzzles are bad, and some newspapers saying crossword puzzles are good. In fact, the New York Times printed an article that said crossword puzzles are a sinful waste and irrelevant to mental development.
My, how little has changed. Because, like, you could find these on the internet today.
New York Times has one of the more difficult and intriguing crossword puzzles now.
Yeah.
A clergyman at the time wrote an article, an op-ed, saying that crossword puzzles are the mark of childish mentality. And there were various other articles that were decrying
And
them.
those were all written by people that were bad at them.
Yeah.
Yes. Just like Sudoku when that ended up
And
hitting
their
yeah.
their smug friends went, oh, a 3-letter word for yeah. Shut up. Yeah, yeah.
What's a 3-letter word for smug? Ass.
Yep.
Oh, it fits! So crossword puzzles had a huge thing. Then around the 30s, they kind of started to fall out of popularity. And oddly,
So we had a depression.
yeah, oddly enough, after World War II, they saw a resurgence.
Yeah.
And then you started to get crossword puzzle books, and various, and it became part of the everyday.
Well, how'd you do?
So for one kind of game,
That was an interesting show.
No, that was in the 50s.
That was Howdy Doody,
Yeah.
and it was a very specific time for that. That was Howdy Doody time.
Yeah, I know.
I know you were there. So
That was first thing you said in the morning.
He was the one behind the puppet.
I'm the generation that learned of Howdy Doody time from Back to the Future. So now that I've made half of the room very self-conscious, my next question.
No.
Don't
Because
care.
you're between us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you have nowhere to go.
That's quite true. I am horribly trapped. So, how many of you guys are familiar with automatons?
Yeah.
I'm part one.
Yeah, I know. So automatons, there was a very famous automaton known as the Mechanical Turk. What could that automaton do?
Tell your fortune.
No.
It could move.
Yes, Tom. Automatons
Yeah.
can move, yes. Most automatons, they were designed to do very specific things.
All right.
You would wind a key, and clockwork mechanisms would happen, and one of a preset number of things
It was a
would
ridiculous
happen.
thing like pour a cup of tea or light a cigarette.
Those did exist. France had some of those.
Yeah, both
But-
existed.
The Mechanical Turk itself, that's not what that one did.
I feel like there's something questionably racist that it could do, considering the name and
No,
when it was probably made.
I
Unless
will
it's much
help
more
you out.
modern than I think it is.
I will help you out, and there is no racism involved.
Shocking. Okay.
That is so not true. That is so not true. Of
So what's our category? Think about it. We're talking about fun and games. There are. This was
Roll dice.
I was about to ask, can you roll dice?
no,
A timer?
no.
No.
Pick a card, any card.
play chess.
Play chess.
I was going. Wait. I was going. I just remember because there was the arm would, and then it would play chess. Yes.
So the Mechanical Turk was
Yes.
an automaton that was known for playing chess.
Chess.
Was he
It
any
was-
good?
Well, we'll get to that. It was designed to look like a full Turkish garb in front of a chessboard, and people could go up and play the machine. You could pay money, and you could go and you could play against the machine. Only problem was, it wasn't actually playing. You see, the Turk was sitting behind a big box, and inside the box there was a master chess player
Yeah.
who was moving the chess pieces with magnets under the board.
Oh no.
So for years,
Magnus, man, how do they work?
for years, a number of various chess masters would hide in the Turk, and they would get a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because many different people, the Turk ended up going on tour around the world. It played people like Bonaparte, Franklin, beat both of them.
Yes.
Now, the Turk itself was designed.
Bonaparte was a short match.
Yeah. They only had one hand.
Franklin walked off with his rod.
No.
He had
So
better things
That's
to
like
do.
Fralin and Rock walk off anywhere.
the Turk itself was built in 1770 by a German man named Wolfgang von Kempelen, and he built it, like many nerds do things, to impress a lady. Afterwards,
She immediately married the boxer from down the street. And
You're going to try to impress a chick by making a machine that plays chess.
look, man,
That's the
Different
most
time,
revenge
man.
of the nerds thing I can think
It
of.
was a different time.
it was a different time. Eventually, it got out among the chess community that this is what was really going on, and
Narcs.
well, they kept
They
it
wanted
to
money.
themselves. In the chess community, various different grandmasters and master chess players would take turns in the box, and
They
they would
want to keep that cash coming.
yeah, they would go around and they would split it. The Turk itself eventually was destroyed by a fire in 1854.
With or without a chess master.
I'm going to go with without,
Okay.
because it was in a museum.
Deliberately
at the
or
time.
by
Yeah, it was in a museum at the time.
disgruntled chess loser sets fire to it.
Bonaparte, oh, my revenge! That was the worst French I've ever done, so we're going to move on from
Yeah,
that.
we're going to agree with that one
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Speaking of being a great actor, actress Kate
I
Winslet.
rolled out this table.
Yeah.
Actress Kate Winslet, she has an Oscar. Where does she keep it?
All right, the four highly inappropriate answers
Now that they're out of here,
have wandered past. I'm going to say somewhere like the lavatory or the garden or someplace innocuous. It might be in the bottom of a closet.
It's not in the bottom of a closet. You have to pick one.
Top of the closet?
Their dog's house.
It's nowhere in the closet.
Under the bed?
Brave King.
No, I think it's like in the bathroom or something. It's
It
in the
is
bathroom.
in the bathroom.
It's in the bathroom.
Actress Kate
Does,
Winslet.
does it hold up like her toilet paper roll?
Well, no, she keeps her Oscar in the bathroom so that anybody who visits her house can have their Oscar moment in the mirror anytime they go to the bathroom.
I approve.
Because let's be honest,
Yeah.
if you're visiting your friend's house and their Oscar is in the bathroom on the counter, you're not going to stand there and go, I want to thank everyone who got me here today except for Bill.
I mean, if I was at Kate Winslet's house,
Well, let's start
Oh
there.
yeah,
Let's
that's
start there. That would mean you broke in.
oh.
You're going back to that Turkish prison. Because
She can play chess.
what does Turkey have to do with this? I did my time.
they have dibs on you.
So yeah, Kate Winslet.
They had to get in line behind Nestle.
She won the Oscar in 2008 for the film The Reader. The Oscar itself, it weighs 8.5 pounds.
Yeah.
They are incredibly heavy
They're substantial.
statues.
Good home defense weapon.
I got to hold a replica of an Oscar, and they are chufty. But
It's as close as you're ever
I
getting.
know,
So,
I know.
just so you know.
Hey, I might get a Webby.
You might get a wedgie.
What's that? A Razzie? I would show up to get a Razzie. I would show up to.
Well, there's a
earn
lot
Razzie.
of people that show up to get
Oh,
their
yeah.
Razzies.
Yeah.
That's a party I'd go to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, but speaking of Oscars, why is it called an Oscar?
I used to know that story. It just walked out of the back of my head the minute you asked us. You know who's going to ask
The
that.
man that
You know, I was
sculpted
gonna
it,
ask
his name
that.
Oscar?
No.
That is not what the name of the award is. The name of the award is like the name for Affleck. It's like the Screen Guild, blah,
It's-
blah,
it's
blah.
the Academy
blah,
Award,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah. You know, no, it's like 12 things by the time you get to the bottom of it. It is nicknamed Oscar for, oh my gosh.
They originally wanted to give out like a hot dog shaped award, but they didn't think that was dignified enough, so
Well, it was called the Richard back then, and it just didn't go
Yeah.
well. I do not remember what the nickname came from.
So there are a number of different stories, a number of different reports as to why it got its name. But most accounts seem to agree that there was an Academy director named Margaret Herrick who looked at the sculpt of the statue and said it reminded her of her uncle Oscar.
That was it. That's the yeah.
Thank you for the confirmation of your memory.
Yeah, it's just the memory's kind of like, wow, it's
Comes and goes.
it's one of those trivial facts that's
Yeah.
way in the back. You're like, if somebody will say it, I'll recognize it.
Yeah.
Well, it was after Oscar De La Renta. No,
No.
it wasn't. It was after an actor named, no.
There was a
Somebody-
boxer that
Somebody looked at it and went, yeah, it looks like my old uncle. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it right there. Yeah.
he was scrawny and gold and holding aloft a thing.
And also quite chunky and heavy if you tried to lift him.
He worked out a lot.
He was very Art Deco, my uncle. so
We called him whipped cream. Yeah.
So that actually brings us to our last question of the night. So our final question of the night: what is a test that all of us have taken that we have all gotten the wrong answers on?
Most of them.
Driving test?
Blood tests.
No, I studied hard for that one. I actually passed it.
I don't know
They
how.
never did give me my
I don't know
blood back.
how. You got an A. I got an O. I don't know what kind of grade that is. Not a blood test. Not
Eye
a
test?
a what?
Eye test?
No. Think less. Think less accurate. Think more. You see modern versions of this kind of test all over the place. You're
A
on
dare?
Like your Myers-Briggs test or your IQ test. Or
Myers
your Myers-Briggs, aka the horoscope for
Yeah,
people who
the-
fancy themselves smart.
Yeah, the horrible test made by people that have nothing to do with testing.
Exactly. Let's dive into that. We are talking
Yeah, I
about.
was like, let's go into the history of
Yeah.
how that scam came around.
We
We
are
Yeah.
in the Myers-Briggs personality
used
test.
to call it the truth or consequences quiz.
Yeah.
Yep.
Somehow, what color are you is more apt than the actual Myers-Briggs operation.
Yeah, if I wanted to take one of those "Which friend are you?" and I wanted to be a Joey, I could get a Joey.
Nobody
But
wants to be the Ross.
no one wants to be Ross. No. So the Myers-Briggs test, it was developed by a woman named Catherine Briggs and her daughter-in-law, Isabel Myers.
Mm-hmm.
This came about because Briggs met her future son-in-law, and she didn't like him.
I remember this story.
And she
now.
wanted
Oh
to
my
figure
gosh.
out why. So she and her daughter grabbed a book by Carl Jung and started to look into it.
I mean, at least it wasn't Freud. Like, it could have been worse.
I just like how every word is
much.
just getting worse for you.
Yeah, not much worse.
The
Yeah.
best part was when she would ring the bell and the daughter would salivate. That was,
Yeah.
was hilarious.
So, yes, they grabbed a book by Carl Jung and they looked at a lot of his things to try to figure out, why don't I like this boy?
Because he's not young at heart.
Ooh.
It's really, I think it is one of the most, like, I'm going to convince my daughter not to marry this boy, and it just went too far.
Yep.
But the problem with the
No
Myers-Briggs
mother
test...
ever did that.
No.
Ever.
Problem with the Myers-Briggs test is all of the science that it's based off of has been disproven, and was disproven only a few years after the test came out.
That's
Because-
never stopped people.
I
No.
know. It bases a lot of the testing on very strict things, like are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? The problem is nobody is strictly one or the other. Everybody is gray in some way.
Everyone's a little bit bi in that regard.
That's true. Everybody goes a little bit both ways in most of the main personality things. So when you look at this
You
test,
do know we're getting boycotted now. There go the rest of our sponsors. We're off the air. This is just going.
that's what this episode
We're
is. This
sinking
is
deeply. We're
the
sinking deeply.
Wipe
We're
the
being
slate clean.
choosy about our clientele,
Yeah.
thank
Or
you.
they're diving in deeper. It's like, ooh, I want to watch that.
Controversy gets views.
No, yeah, like that. We hope for that. But yeah.
So the problem with the Myers-Briggs test and many personality tests, additionally, is you can take the test 3 different days and get 3 different answers because your emotional state varies day to day, and your emotional state will affect the different answers that you get.
What if I'm stressed and sad constantly?
Well, then you're just an entertainer.
Well, the other problem is
No, you're a writer.
You have these
Right.
idiots that make these tests so you can go get a job and they have no idea how you do the job.
That is one of the most
And it
frustrating
is, you're like, really, moron? No, this is stupid.
when
Well, I always looked at them as the first example of how to learn how to be a complete liar in a corporate
Yep.
setting.
well, yes, they are
Yeah,
a
you
great
do.
tool for that.
Oh,
Step one,
do you want
you-
do you want the job? Yes. Well, in that case, answer all the questions like this. Do you want to tell the truth? Oh Lord,
No.
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 It is frustrating when you're going to fill out a
It
job
is obvious.
application.
It is fun to fill those out though, with the idea of I am totally going to screw their analytics.
Yep.
Oh, yes, that's
Oh,
fun.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And a heartbeat.
You and I have never done that.
Yeah.
I've heard tell of this though.
Many
It's fun to watch other people do.
Yeah.
Many of the problems with those questions is those tests will ask you the same question 3 or 4 different ways,
Yes.
just to see if you're consistent with your answers. The tests, we all know that they're not correct, and there is nothing more frustrating when you're filling out a job application and here I am perfectly qualified to do this job. I've done this job before. Answer this 300 question personality test. No, thank you. I'm not going to do that to work at Kohl's. I'm sorry.
Right?
I'm just getting all the sponsors gone.
So,
So
is there
yeah.
anybody left? Did
Yeah.
we miss can we tick off the dog food company? Can
I'm
look
sure
for
we
that?
can.
Okay.
So a lot of there are people who do speak for the Myers-Briggs test. Very specifically, there is one organization called the Center for Applications of Psychological Type
Of course.
that every few months, every so many years, puts out a paper in
the
defense
CFAPT?
of Myers-Briggs. Problem is, the center's run by the Myers-Briggs company.
Uh-huh.
Sounds about right.
They own the company saying, no, it's legit. It's perfectly
it
fine.
is.
Sure, yeah. It's like the guy that put the lead in the stuff. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm just going to go to the hospital for fun.
Yeah.
So that concludes this round of Let Me Ask You This.
Do you feel smarter, guys?
I hope you do. Before we do, though, we have to figure out who our winners of the night were. I'm going
The
to
utter
defer.
rout of the evening.
I'm going to defer over to our judge. Our
I
judge.
like kibble.
Who our judge is now waking up.
Yes.
No, the judge is not.
No.
Nope.
Judge is gone.
All right, judge number 2.
All right. Backup judge. What do we think? Oh!
There you go.
And our winners for tonight are Angel and Tom. Tom.
managed
Three.
to get no questions right out of the entire evening.
This is what happens when the points don't matter.
Well, if
Based on the day of my current emotional mood.
oh,
It's the
the judge wins.
Yes.
The judge has won.
Take that test again in 10 minutes, see how it goes.
Come back next week.
Well, I think that's it for everything. On
Thank
behalf
goodness.
of my panel, on behalf of Claire, Alan, Angel, and Tom, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. We hope you learned something. Hope you got something to talk about at work tomorrow. I have been your host, Scott J. Carroll. Until next time, let me ask you this.